Hello. Hello, and welcome to Timing is Everything, a program of Care Dimensions, formerly Hospice of the North Shore in Greater Boston. My name is Mary Crowe, Education Specialist at Care Dimensions. Today, I am so pleased to have on the show Mal Allard, and Mal is a board-certified Alzheimer's educator, and she's also the founder of Their Real World, and she's also the resident care director at Peregrine Place in Tewksbury. Mal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mary.
So happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your roles at Their Real World and also Peregrine.
Well, Their Real World is a company that I started in 2003. It's a consulting company, and it's all about Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And I go out and provide education, as well as go to conferences and family education assessments. I do a little bit of everything in the way of a consultant with Their Real World. My favorite piece is the educational piece, in increasing awareness about Alzheimer's and dementia and communication. Along my travels, I'm now at Peregrine Landing in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and I'm enjoying my time there. We're all memory care in this building. It's all one floor, one story, and we're able to provide level 4 care as well. So we have hospice care right within the building, which is where you come in too.
Yes.
So we're a true aging in place community.
It's wonderful, and I'm so glad that, again, you provide so much education around Alzheimer's and other dementias. This is so critically important right now. You know, this affects people on both a personal and a societal level, and it's just, you're an invaluable resource, and I'm just so grateful that you're here. So how did you get started in the field of memory care?
Well, what happened is later in life, at the age of 40, I graduated from nursing school. And my very first job was in a nursing home on the 11 to 7 shift. And they put me on the Alzheimer's unit. It was called an ambulatory Alzheimer's and dementia unit. And I literally felt like the blind leading the blind. I had a supervisor doing my orientation who was quite busy throughout the building, and I had a nursing assistant that wasn't very familiar with this particular unit. And by the end of that evening, that night into the morning, as people started getting out of bed and sometimes during the night, it was very clear to me that I didn't know how to communicate with people with memory loss. I did learn about dementia and Alzheimer's disease a little bit within nursing school, but you don't know until you're hands-on and face-to-face with people who are struggling with their memory. And I don't know to this day what I did right and what I did wrong that night. I know I had a resident throw liquid medication at me, and that's when I realized, you know, even with a smile and a good morning, it wasn't good for that person. I must have approached her in the wrong way. So leaving, I knew that if we didn't know how to communicate successfully with people with dementia, then no one would have a successful journey. And it literally took off from there. I stayed there just over 5 years. I learned everything I possibly could. Went on to be a program director. From there, opened my own company in 2003. And the story continues. And though I don't like the disease, I absolutely love what I do. I think it's helpful to everyone.
That's wonderful. I don't believe in coincidences. I think you were put on that unit that night for a reason.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it's a gift to all because you were. So you've done such amazing work.
Thank you.
So, you know, how do you see people with Alzheimer's and memory impairing diseases?
And I tell this to family members as well. I see each person with whatever memory impairment they have as a normal person. You are your normal you. You're not going anywhere. You are your normal you. And wherever I meet them in that moment is where that relationship begins. It's a matter of me creating a relationship with them. They're normal people with normal emotions. They're just like us. And I tell people, just because they have dementia does not mean they don't feel the very same things that we feel We may not understand why
Right.
they're feeling or behaving the way that they are, but there is a reason and there is emotion there. Yeah, they're just normal people,
Yep,
you know,
yeah.
struggling through with a broken brain.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and I think your point is really an important one because, again, a lot of times we're really losing sight of the person that is there, and we're not staying in tune to that, and what a loss.
It is a loss, and I think if people realize that they're in their long-term memory right now, you know, and that's where we communicate with them. People with dementia have many accomplishments from childhood on. They have many experiences from childhood on, just like you and I. And just because one day they're diagnosed with one of these diseases does not mean that those experiences and those accomplishments did not happen. They are their history. They are still there. And that's likely where we'll communicate best with them, through that long-term memory. And that's where they still feel like the normal person that they believe they are,
Yes.
even in middle and later stages
Right.
of these diseases, when
Yeah.
they don't know they have the dementia anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I see this a lot is that, and again, it's not ill-intended by healthcare workers. I feel like people come to this with all good intention. I think sometimes, again, we're seeing people at one moment in time.
Yeah.
And again, generally people are coming to us as healthcare workers because they're vulnerable, because they need assistance, and we see them at that moment. But what we neglect to see is that these are amazing, accomplished human beings who have just done so much in their life, who have unfortunately been impacted by one of these very challenging and difficult disease process. And again, we don't want to lose sight of that. So we really have to, like you said, if we don't understand the person and who they are and what has made them who they are today, we're really missing the boat.
We really, really are. But I think a lot of it is that stigma around these diagnoses, which is improving. But I really think it's fear of the unknown. You know, of the caregiver, of the friend, of whoever is in the company of that person with dementia. A lot of times they avoid the situation for fear of the unknown. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to answer. They're afraid sometimes. And that's part of, I guess, the mission of what I do.
Yeah.
Please try to understand. You know, it's okay. They're just like you and I. They're just forgetful.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how wherever people are at in a disease process, how when we make a connection, again, we just are on a whole different level with a human being, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
Especially when we laugh together.
Absolutely.
Because their sense of humor has not gone away either.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people don't like they're just like you and I. Whatever we experienced in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they have too. They have too, and I think they get caught up in the diagnosis, the word, as opposed to learning this same person who operates differently now.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that, and laughter is just so important, you know, and it's just, and something that we all need, you know, and I think sometimes people worry and they think that, again, we're making fun or laughing at the person. This is a high-level coping mechanism that is such a useful thing. And like you say, if this is something that was essential to the person, why are we abandoning something that means so much to them? So that it's really important.
It is important.
Yeah.
It is important.
So what do you think is the most important aspect of caring for an individual with Alzheimer's or another dementia?
Well, there's some people like directors of nursing and people like that sometimes that nurses have a harder time wrapping their head around it, is when they go into a community, maybe an assisted living or a nursing home, but a special care program, a daycare program, home care people coming in, is that, I forgot what I was just going to say.
That's all right. So in terms of the most important aspect of caring for someone,
the most important aspect of caring is their emotional well-being, is what I focus on. So what they focus on, a lot of people try to still focus on their medical reasons for being there. Whereas in my opinion, if you're on a special care unit, a memory care unit, we're taking care of you emotionally. you know, hopefully using a habilitative model of care, focusing on what people still can do.
Yep.
Trying to create positive emotion and steering clear of causing negative emotion.
Yeah. That's important for people to understand too, because they don't always hear. They hear habilitation therapy, and again, a lot of that term is not something that's familiar to a lot of people. So you know, where rehabilitation is to regain one's level of functioning, that's not what's really being sought after here, because it's not possible.
Meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Meet them right there where they are, and communicate with them in that place through sensory awareness almost. You know, how does their environment present to them? What do they see? You know, what is going on in here? What makes them happy? What makes them agitated? It's like detective work is what we're doing with people with Alzheimer's, and trying to maintain a balance of peace and comfort, as well as them feeling loved, special, and belonging.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes people give up on that. They're looking more to the day-to-day, task-driven, ADL care, things like that, as opposed to where are they in their head right now and how are they feeling right now.
Absolutely. You know, and it's interesting how, because again, when we're more person-centered in that way and really tending to that individual, making sure that we are promoting well-being all the time, even though again healthcare it's kind of task focused, and there's this drive that causes some moral distress for the caregiver too. So when we truly do focus in on the individual, it's good for everyone.
It is.
You know, so I think that again that's what people find. So it's all about the feeling good, the really again, like you say, focus on strengths, not the limitations, because again we're doing that kind of approach. You know, we're going to the negative instead of the positive. It's all about well-being.
It is.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Yes,
like
exactly.
To me, it really is that. They need to feel that they're useful and they're productive, and not always being reminded that they cannot do things, and lifting them up in a positive manner with what they still can do. Let them feel successful.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting because in our culture, we put such emphasis on purpose, you're right? We're as good as what we can produce. And that's the message we're being given our whole life, right? So why is that supposed to be any different for an individual who has Alzheimer's and other dementia? So again, we're it's like you had said in the beginning, we're approaching them differently when we should be approaching them like, for all of us, that's a central part of our being.
Yes.
So
they're living. We need to create for them seeming normalcy.
Yep.
You know, they think that they're normal. In the earlier stages, of course, they're struggling with that. They know there's something wrong. They can converse about that and grieve that, you know, with their family. But as they progress on and they don't realize that they have this maybe Alzheimer's diagnosis, that's when they think that they're really as normal as you and I. They always know there's something wrong with their head, but they don't understand, like, why are you cutting my meat, or why are you in this bathroom with me, or what do you mean I can't go out by myself? When they're at that point of not understanding, that's where caregivers really need common sense as a caregiver, like to jump in there, and it's almost like the pretend. You know, like, well, we'll go out for a walk later. I'd love to go with you. So it's almost like letting them take that lead in a normal life. We're just directing it. Safety is a huge consideration in emotional well-being. So we're just kind of guiding their new path of their new normal is what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I like that. I like the way you're approaching that, because like you say, instead of, again, focusing on the decline, it is a new normal for them.
It is.
And it's kind of a very positive way of approaching it. So, and I think, you know, from a family perspective, it gets difficult, because, you know, you had brought up the concept of grief and all, you know, and I feel like those are huge issues. So, you know, for families that are certainly have a loved one who have Alzheimer's, you know, usually what you see, even with some impatience or this and that, is at the very core, the sadness, the fear, the feelings of helplessness. And I think if we can get to the core of those issues too, that again, this process can go differently as well.
It will,
Yeah.
Always on the positive swing. You know, it's not just the family members that suffer and grieve this diagnosis, the person with the disease.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already grieving the changes in their lives, perhaps before they're even diagnosed, before when the family members are talking behind their backs. You know, they already know that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People get a sense, like you say, they
yeah.
they know, and they you know, it's their way of comprehending it is different. But again, they're certainly aware from that emotional perspective.
Yeah.
So, what is your I Am Invisible Invisible program about?
It's called Am I Invisible? And it's one of my presentations. And I knew when my mother-in-law, she died of a multi-infarct dementia, but she had fallen and broken her shoulder. And she was in the hospital, and a caregiver came in and did a complete set of vital signs without saying one word to my mother-in-law. And I was in the field at that point, but I just kind of stepped back and just watched this process. And I thought, there was no good morning, Mrs. Allard, or I'm going to take your temperature or anything. She completed the set of vital signs and left. And I remember thinking, she must feel invisible. And I thought, maybe someday I'll write a new talk about that, because there's several times in my life with people that I know and love, or working with, or assessing even with a family member perhaps right there, that they're not involved in that conversation. They're only looking at the person who doesn't have dementia, including doctors and nurses and a lot of us, family members. They're not including people in the conversation. They may not be able to participate very well in that conversation, but they are still standing right there. And you can just glance at them and say, that sounds good to me, what about you? And typically they'll say yes. So I think we're able to guide that. But so many different things. When my grandmother, I think now that she must have been screaming silently in her head years ago, I am so confused. I am so bored. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand this new apartment. Now, way back then, I wasn't a nurse and I didn't understand, but she would ask me for her cigarettes, and she had quit 10 years ago, a cup of tea, in which she probably had 4 or 5 cups of tea from me because she wouldn't stop asking, how's the weather outside? How's the weather outside? And when I started to write this talk, I really thought about her more in depth. And today I would be able to look at her eyes and see the screaming. And I decided to write this talk. What is their world from their point of view? What is their perception, you know, from their point of view? I think that their boredom, their emotions, a lot of times they feel like they're invisible. And I think that they are. Their physical pain. You know, people think that they'll call them problem or challenging behaviors. And they're not. People with Alzheimer's and dementia are communicating the best way that they can. So if they have a difficult behavior, they're really trying to tell you that there's something wrong in their world in that moment. And I think that that's what my grandmother used to do with me, and I had no idea, you know, what was actually going on. So I think I want people to know how they feel within this world that they now live in. What is their perception of this environment? You know, what would they think you and I are doing? When they walk into a crowded room, what do they see? Is it the musical event they went to, or do they think they're in a crowded airport? I mean, you just don't know where they are or how they're perceiving the way you're looking at them. If you're not smiling and they don't know you, are they an intruder? You know, should they leave? Should they stay? Like, I just think there's a lot of stuff that is invisible, that people many times don't have the time to think about. And I've had that luxury. This is a passion with me. This is what I do. But I will sit where they sit. What is irritating to them in the space that's invisible to the rest of us, but it's very real to them.
Absolutely.
Simply maybe shutting a shade because they're seeing their reflection in a window.
Yes.
You know, sometimes it's very little things like that, and it creates a behavior. And a lot of times I think they're medicated for the wrong reason.
Right.
We just need to figure out what is wrong in their world at that moment, and let's try to tweak it as we go. We don't need to overuse medications.
Right.
Necessary sometimes, with the goal always to get them back off them.
Right.
But I think that they're used when people don't know what to do with the yelling or the behavior anymore.
Absolutely. I agree. It's, and again, I think part of that is what you just talked about, is that we label behaviors.
Yeah.
We're critical. Again, we're always saying bad behavior, this is, and, but if people can identify this, like you said, behavior is their way of communicating unmet needs. If we can focus on that and have to do our detective work, figure that out, like you say, the medication is really used as a last resort.
Yes.
So a lot of this stuff and what you're talking about is really how critically important it is, our approach and how we set up an environment.
Yeah.
And how those two things alone can probably take care of the majority of behaviors, really, while enhancing quality of life.
Yes.
So, because again, we're able to find out what are these behaviors about, what do they need. So, I think, again, if we can educate in terms of what we're doing today, I hope, for people to understand that, because like you say, the stigma around this disease, I do think it's real. It's that, unfortunately, caring for people with one of these disease process, it takes time. That's the nature of it. So it's not going to, it's not going to accommodate us. We need to accommodate the disease process and the person.
Yeah.
How do we do that? I get asked this a lot from staff, and I'd love your opinion on this. They say, I only have so much time. So what would you, what is the most important thing? How, what would you say to somebody? How can they best care for somebody given the time constraints in healthcare?
I think they need to think out of the box. And when you're in healthcare, typically a person has an assignment, and maybe there's 6 people on that assignment. And I think that the nursing supervisors and family members can troubleshoot with this as well, can readjust the assignment.
Right.
If someone doesn't want to get out of bed early in the morning, yet this person over here is complaining they're waiting too long, just flip the assignment. Sometimes it's simple little things like that.
Yep.
And I think even if there is a time constraint, I just think it's that friendly approach, that validating approach.
Right.
It's like, I know you've been waiting, I'm sorry. A lot of times it's simply the manners, our approach, and a lot of times it is going to be a time and task.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think if it is time and task, you're in there and you're just doing the best you can in those moments.
Yep.
And patience.
Yeah, I agree.
People just need a lot. They don't. They lose patience, or they get burnt out, or they get frustrated, or they take something personally.
Right.
Being called every name in the book. Well, it's not you. It's the dementia doing it.
Right. Exactly.
So there's not one single answer. It would be the unique person that you're with and the situation that you're in, and troubleshooting.
Right.
You just need to troubleshoot. How can we make this better?
Yep. Well, and again, the interesting part of what you're saying is, and I often say to people, if we learn better approaches, and if we truly understand the person, it actually takes less time in a lot of ways, because we're avoiding the fact of getting people agitated and upset and really causing them distress for an indefinite period of time, when if we had done it differently to start with, really, it works all the way around in terms of time, quality of life, and everything.
And does it matter? What is it that you're trying to do? Is it a necessary thing?
Yeah.
Do they need that shower every single day?
Right.
And I'm kind of blunt, and I'll say, well, does your loved one stink?
Yeah.
Well, no. Then if the shower's not working out for you, it's okay.
Yeah.
They're doing it out of respect for their parent and their
Right.
normal routine for years and years. But it's okay to develop a new routine.
Right.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, might
Yes.
be just as good as the 7 days a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. We get, and again, whether it be caregivers, professional or informal, we get so rigid in terms of routine, and part of that is being hard time to let go of what was.
Yes.
We just get so caught up in what the way things have always been.
Yeah.
If we can, I think part of the key to this is just being flexible.
Yeah.
And if we can kind of learn to go with that,
Yeah.
as hard as it is,
Yeah.
it can get us somewhere.
And eventually you'll see that it does work better. It was the good change to make.
Yeah.
But change, again, is difficult.
Change is hard.
You know,
Yeah.
it's that you get into a routine. We do without it.
Yeah.
Here we are trying to create a good routine for them that they feel innately secure with and more independent with.
Yeah.
But yet it's sometimes hard for us to make those changes ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it's only through education. Like, I love if there's a family meeting or a big caregiver support group, some of these
Yeah.
things we're able to talk about and just kind of tweeze things out. Well, how important is it, that they, not go to bed at 7:30 instead of 8 o'clock?
Yes,
What
exactly.
is your reason and rationale around that? And it may be a good one, and
Right.
it may be a good one.
Yep.
But yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
You're working on it.
Yeah,
I am. I think a lot of
yeah.
us are trying really hard.
Yep, absolutely.
To put ourselves in their shoes, to
Yeah.
prioritize and really figure out what's important. It's not
Absolutely.
worth the battle
No,
typically.
not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the less we try to control things,
Yeah.
the better.
Yeah. Go
It's
with the
amazing.
flow. Go
Well,
with the flow.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it just helps on all accounts.
It does. It does.
Now, I know you've written a beautiful poem
Mm-hmm.
called Visible Me. Would you be willing to share that with the audience?
I would be. This poem, instead of an educational sort of typical bulleted handout, I decided one evening I would sit down and write this from their point of view. So this is someone with memory loss speaking, and it goes with Am I Invisible? And I entitled it Visible Me. Hello, here I am. I am standing right here, useful and worthy, or so it should seem. My brain is not doing what I know it should do. Though something is broken, I'm right here beside you. Please see me beside you as you talk and discuss about my diagnosis and where we are thus. I'm still part of this picture. I'm standing right here. Please turn just a little, and this will be clear. I see on your face and the way that you move, if you're truly aware that I'm here in the room. I try to connect, don't keep me at bay. Though I feel I'm invisible, I still have something to say. I may have confused things, or you don't agree, or my words don't make sense or won't come out of me. But still, either way, the effort is made. Simply listen and nod and engage with me, please. I may not recall how you answer my questions, but will feel inside if it caused peace or tension. This turn in my life is difficult for you too. You'll need to seek support to help get us through. I know you are stretched and emotional each day. You are tired and sad, only you can say. But I want you to rest and take care of you too. My world would not be the same without you. Let's decide to be happy on this merry-go-round, yet accepting at the same time the intruder stands ground. Take advantage of what we still have here today, moment by moment, let them not drift away. Here I am, still adult, as before this disease, with life experience and accomplishments, these do not cease. But I ask that you accept the now me I am. I'm still very present. Let's journey forward again. I'm blessed we're together these forgetting years, and that you're on board with the now presence of we. Am I invisible due to this memory loss? I most certainly am not. No, I am not. Here I am visible, a person as such, and your respect of the now me means so very much. Here I am, still standing right here. Please hear me, please see me, visible me.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
That
Mary.
is so beautiful. Just so well said. It's and I also love the piece that you mentioned in there about the adult piece.
Yeah.
Because again, these are amazing adults
They
who
are.
have been impacted, not children. I often try to get people to not draw that parallel
Yeah.
because again, when we label somebody as childlike, we treat them accordingly,
Okay.
and it's critically important that we don't do that too.
It is.
Right?
It really
that
is.
was just beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Mary.
Tell people, where can people reach you?
They can reach me at Peregrine Landing in
Okay.
Tewksbury, Massachusetts, or they could reach me at Their Real World. And the number for that is 978-729-9198.
Excellent. I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. This was really just so important and really just moving, to tell
Thank
you
you.
the truth. And
Thank you,
I am
Mary.
so grateful for your compassion and your expertise and for who you are.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Mal.
God bless you.
Thank you. The same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being a part of our show today, and we look forward to your tuning in to the next Timing is Everything. My name is Mary Crowe. That was beautiful.
Care Dimensions. Care Dimensions is the largest hospice in the state of Massachusetts. In addition to hospice and palliative services, we offer specialized programs for dementia, cardiac, respiratory, and pediatrics. In addition to our specialized care programs, we also offer extensive education to both professionals and community groups on a variety of topics surrounding advanced illness and end of life. If you would like more information on our educational opportunities, please reach us at our website, caredimensions.org, or you can call us at 888-283-1722. Thank you.